Hey, this is part 2 of Conditions, as you can see, because he's suffering from something. Look, if you want an interesting intro, go watch part 1. It's really hard to make 2 funny intros for the same topic.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to GameGorgon. My name's Indigo.
And I'm Krug.
And today we're going to be talking about conditions again. If you want to see the first batch of conditions, head to the link in the description where you can watch the first half of this. And oh my gosh, it is so much. There is, whoa.
We're also going to try something new with this. We're going to be putting timestamps in the description for specific conditions. If you're here looking for a specific piece of information, go down there and look.
Unless I forget.
Unless we forget.
And then remind us.
And then we'll do it after the fact. First on the list is Fascinated. You're going to receive the Fascinated condition when you're forced to pay attention to something. This could be either magical or just like a really good performance check.
Like our show! You're fascinated with our show!
Are you not entertained? When you're fascinated, you have a -2 conditional penalty to perception. You also can't use anything with the concentration trait unless that action is directly related to the thing that you're fascinated by.
Okay.
So if you're watching a performer on stage and then you want to like recall knowledge about the performer, that's totally fine. But if you want to concentrate on a spell, you're screwed. This condition will also automatically end if any creature does anything hostile towards you.
Okay.
And actually, I would, as a GM, say the condition would end if any creature does anything hostile. Period.
Okay.
Because that makes, like, if somebody throws a beer bottle across the room and it smashes against the wall and they start screaming, if it's not directed towards you, you're still probably gonna, you know, self-preservation, check that out.
Yeah. I think there is some wiggle room with that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily hostile, but like maybe something, you know, you're watching a performance and there's a book that falls and it snaps you away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a lot of different...
for something like that wasn't hostile, I'd say perception check with the -2 first.
Sure.
That's just us.
Next is Fatigued. Guess what? You sweepy. You're very, very sweepy.
I love that voice.
First thing is that you're going to get Hampered 5.
Hey, we went over Hampered in our first video.
Yeah, go watch that one. If you haven't already. And if you have, do it again.
Do it!
You're also going to take a -1 penalty to your AC, and this penalty is going to go up by 1 for each action that you spend. So for example, you start with a 1, you decide to move, which takes you to a -2, and your opponent gets an attack of opportunity on you for moving out of your space.
Yep.
Then you would actually have a -2 to your AC.
Yep.
Now, if you are fatigued while in the exploration mode, all you can do is wander. And if you want to understand what wandering is and understand more information about that, we actually talked about that in our exploration video, which is a different video that you should be going and watching.
Just do it!
And then you can actually recover from fatigue if you rest for at least 8 hours.
Yep. Next up is Fleeing. This condition is commonly acquired by being a little bitch and being afraid of stuff.
Whoa, I super wasn't expecting that.
When you're fleeing, you can't use the delay or the ready actions, and you have to use all of your actions on your turn in order to get as far away as possible from the thing that's causing you to have the fleeing condition.
Okay.
That means you can open doors, that means you can climb, swim, fly, do whatever it is that you need to do to get as far away as possible. If there's a door in your way, your character isn't dumb, right?
Yeah.
They know that they can open the door and run further, they can run further.
All right, the next thing we're going to go over are conditions that only NPCs can have.
Yeah, they're favor conditions.
And they're all very much aligned in how they work. So
Yep.
the first one we're going to talk about is Friendly. You get a +2 bonus to request, making an impression, and lying. The rest of these are going to just be iterations of that in positive and negative.
Yep. Helpful is the same as Friendly, but it's a +4 instead of a +2.
Hostile is just like all of the other things, but instead of a plus bonus, it's a -4 bonus.
Bonus is the wrong word.
You also can't make the request action with this person.
Unfriendly is the same as Hostile, except for -2 instead of -4.
And then the last one is Indifferent, which is,
Literally, it doesn't change anything about anything. Why is it written? Why is it written?
They needed a 0 value to give you a positive and a negative.
My hero, 0.
Next is Frightened, which is always going to come with a condition value. When you're frightened, you're going to take a penalty to all checks made equal to the condition value. And the thing about Frightened is that it automatically reduces by 1 at the end of each of your turns.
Next is grabbed, where you are held in place.
I can never hold you in place.
While being grabbed and you want to use any sort of action that involves the manipulation trait, you have to roll a flat 5 DC to do so before you can do it.
Yeah, so that order of operations one more time is going to be, you declare that you're doing the thing. You roll to do the thing if you need to roll to do the thing. You roll the DC 5 check. If you succeed the DC 5 check, you resolve the thing. If you don't succeed the DC 5 check, nothing happens and you lose the action or the spell or whatever it is that you were trying to do.
I would say, I would be, as a GM, be willing to say, state the action that you're going to do, roll the DC.
Yeah.
If you fail the DC, you don't need.
Yeah, just to save time, sort
exactly,
of thing. Yeah. The way I'm talking is the way it's written in the book at some point, but that makes so much sense.
Yeah. To me, I'd be like, okay, you're going to do a 2-action thing. Great. Roll the DC. You fail. Great. We don't need you to roll it anymore.
Yeah,
because
you'll lose those 2 actions.
One, as a player, like, imagine critting. Right? You're like, oh, I crit. You're like, yes. And you're like, great, now roll that flat 5 DC and you roll and you're like,
no.
I like that makes that way worse as a player.
No,
and
I'm
as a
with
GM, you're just like, I now have to deal with this situation. You're like, well, you crit, but you didn't, but
No, I'm with it. Next is Immobile. This is going to be given to you by things that completely remove your ability to move, not just kind of hamper you a little bit. This is different than setting your speed to 0. This is you not being able to use any action with the move trait. We talked about that distinction in our first video. This is kind of where it's coming up. Now, any effect that would force you to move, either push you or pull you or displace you to the side, whatever it may be, is going to have to succeed a check against the thing that's making you immobile. So sometimes that's going to be the Fortitude DC of the person grabbing you. Sometimes that's going to be the DC of a spell.
Okay.
Any number of things, but the thing moving you has to succeed a check against the DC of the thing keeping you there.
Next is Paralyzed. You are considered to be flat-footed, and the only action that you can take is to recall knowledge, aka think. This is Krug being paralyzed.
Next is persistent damage, one of the wordier ones that we're going to be going through. Persistent damage is always going to have a condition value and a type. So the format's going to be X persistent damage type, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
At the end of your turn, you're going to take X damage of the type specified. So if you have 3 persistent damage fire, you're going to take 3 fire damage at the end of your turn. Now, if you have persistent damage, you're going to have to make a DC 20 flat check after you take the persistent damage in order to remove the persistent damage effect. Now, if you have like resistance or some other way of preventing damage to yourself, and you prevent the damage of an ability that is instant that also gives you persistent damage, you negate the persistent damage as well.
Okay.
So if something deals slashing damage and gives you persistent bleed damage, and you negate the entire slashing damage, you don't bleed.
Yeah, it makes
because you didn't get slashed.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing about persistent damage that's unique is that persistent damage does override itself the same way that other conditions do, but only if it's the same type. You can have persistent fire and persistent bleed damage happening at the same time, but you can't have 2 instances of persistent fire damage.
Yeah.
So treat instances of the same type of damage the same way that we discussed in the first video. Treat different types of damage as 2 completely different conditions.
Yeah. Next is Petrified.
I'm not gonna pause everything again.
Basically, you're made of stone now. You're unable to take any actions. You're also blind and deaf. So I hope you play a mean pinball. No one's gonna get that joke. No one's gonna get that. You're also considered to be an object with the following stats. You have a 9 AC, a 5 TAC, a hardness of 8, and you retain your HP. Each time you take a dent, reduce your HP by 5. This cannot bring you down below 1 hit point, which is kind of interesting.
Why?
Because if you're a stone, right, and someone is hitting you, right, and you're gaining dents, you don't think that someone cracking you down into like tiny little pieces?
Oh, homie. If your statue is destroyed, you immediately die.
Well, what determines destroyed then?
When you run out of hardness, when you take over 8 dents.
So then what's the...
Because when you come out of, if you get cured of petrification, you're going to be at 1 HP. That's your same health pool.
Yeah.
So it's reducing your health pool. So if you get petrified and then for an entire round people wail on you and get you to 7 dents, and then somebody comes and cures you of petrification, you've lost 7 times 5 health. You know?
Whatever. makes sense.
It does. It does. I get it. I get where you're coming from. It's
Yeah.
a little involved. For
Yeah.
In all fairness, a condition that is not going to be applied very often. I'd say in most
Unless
games.
you're fighting against Medusa.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to be going against Medusa in every game.
I don't know.
The other conditions are way more important, but this one is like really niche-y and really complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's strange.
I get it.
Yeah. Next up is prone. This one's a little bit weird. You're prone when you're lying flat on the ground. You can do this to yourself by just choosing to lie on the ground, or people can do this to you by pushing you onto the ground. You get a -2 circumstance penalty to AC against melee attacks. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to AC against ranged attacks, which is the same kind of format we see in other role-playing games, except for why is it +1?
Yeah, I would have given it a +2 and -2 and +2.
Yeah. I'm on board with you.
I don't like it.
You're also considered flat-footed against melee attacks. I think that means that brings your AC penalty when you're prone down to -4 total. Because I think those two stack, which is good because that's what we did in our session. of
What I think it's supposed to mean is that if a rogue tries to make a sneak attack against you, they can do that.
Now, if you're forced into the prone state and you're flying or climbing at the time, you fall.
But what if I'm like Superman and I fly with my arms straight out? Technically, I'm prone. I'm like...
Prone involves the ground, and so you will be brought there by the force of gravity against your will.
Gotcha. 10-4. Quick! You gain 1 action at the start of your turn.
That was quick. Next is restrained. This is when you're tied up and can barely move. Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be tied up. It could be anything. It could be somebody grabbing you. It could be any number of things. This is going to give you the immobile condition. It's also going to make you flat-footed. You're not going to be able to use any action except for the ones that you use to escape.
Okay.
So that's kind of the differentiating factor here. There's no flat check to do a thing. It's like you can only try to escape.
Yeah, and if you want to know how to escape, go watch the dexterity video and go watch the strength video.
Yep.
Go watch all the videos!
Just do it!
I mean, like for reals though, please go watch all of our videos.
And like them.
It helps us a bunch.
Click that button.
Yeah. Last but not least, restrained does override the grabbed condition. So you can't have both of those at the same time. You only have one, and it's restrained if you have restrained, and then if you don't have restrained, you can have grabbed.
And I mean, restrained is worse than grabbed, so...
Yes, that's why it does that.
Yeah. Sick X! Sick will have a conditional value at the end of it so that you know what level of sick you are, whether you've got a little bit of cough, or if you're vomiting blood. Whatever the conditional value is, you're going to take that minus to all of your checks. You can't also willingly ingest anything.
That includes stuff like potions and things to cure you of your sickness. They don't go in your mouth willingly. Even if you use a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down, it does not go down. Somebody has to force it down your gullet.
Damn it.
For a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine.
You can forcefully cause yourself to vomit, or as they call retching, on your turn, and by doing so you can then make another save against the DC of the poison or whatever's making you sick.
You're going to reduce the severity of the sickness by 1 on a success. You're going to reduce it by 2 on a critical success. Next up is sensed. We went over that in our Dex video, so skip, click. The real next action is slowed, which is going to reduce the number of actions that you regain at the start of your turn by 1. So if you naturally regain 3 actions at the end of your turn, you also can't ready an action.
Sluggish will also have a conditional value associated with it, and whatever that value is going to be a minus against your AC, attack rolls, and dexterity-based checks, as well as reflex saves.
Hey, this is easy. If you're stunned, you can't act.
I was stunned and I was acting that I was stunned, so boom! Stupefied is the next one, which will also have a conditional value associated with it. Your thoughts and instincts are clouded.
This is basically when you're feeling dumb.
Yeah.
Before you had your coffee.
The conditional value that you get will give you a minus to your spell casting abilities, your spell DCs, as well as your mental stats. So intellect, wisdom, and charisma checks will all also take that penalty.
Yeah, this one's actually pretty strong, pretty crippling for casters. Last but not least is unseen, which you're not going to see in this video because we already did it in our Dex video.
And our next one?
In our Dex video.
Oh, I thought you said next video.
Dex video. Did it in our Dex video. Dex. This is the end of conditions. That was all of the conditions, all 478 of them. If you liked the videos, Let us know down in the comments. Let us know what you think the strongest condition is. Let us know what you think the dumbest condition is down there while you're at it. And then once you're done with all that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post new content. And then go over to Twitter to talk to me. You can talk to me at QueueTimes on Twitter.
You can tell me if I'm the stupefied one or he's the stupefied one on how many conditions there are by talking to me at IndigoQT. You can talk to both of us at the same time with all of these social media things down here. Just do it.
Join the Discord.
Yes, do it.
We have a welcome channel now, and we'll say all your names.
And I'm going to personally say hi to each one of you if I remember.
There's already one person in there that you haven't said hi to.
Damn it! Until next time, we've been GameGorgon. Bye.